Hello, this is Rob and Donald for Out Here in the Redwoods. Aloha, as you well know, the Out Here in the Redwoods show, telling you what's going on around Humboldt County and meeting interesting people. Today, we're talking about pirates and privateers. Why? Because tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, the Excalibur Medieval Renaissance Fair is happening in Arcata. So look at all the journal and other places to find out all the facts and information. Today, I have a visitor, Raider Corbone. Yeah. Raider looks like a pirate, might even talk like a pirate. And he was a pirate, but he has changed, and he's going to tell us why. He is now a pirate hunter, or a privateer. And you came down here today from Oregon, but not on the coast in a boat. You took them, came by land.
I brought on my barge, you know.
So that's very interesting. You know, almost everybody, people, my friends, counterculture people, as well as children, of course, love being a pirate. It's kind of a great thing. Now, what made you shift from being a pirate to becoming a pirate hunter?
Well, to correct you, I never considered myself a pirate. Although as an artist and a painter, I always painted what they did to the human race out there, you know. Wasn't good, you know. Nothing heroic about what they did, although they felt they were making a living the easiest way they could. Unfortunate situation is that Hollywood glamorizes a lot of things. Hollywood seems to paint things in a different light to make the individuals who are not so good, perhaps maybe for some reason going against what you call it, you know, the government or whatnot, you know, trying to be the good guys on the side or whatnot for the people, you know, anybody who, you know, might be rebelling against the nobles who, you know, stereotypically don't care about their own people or whatnot, only themselves. There were rough times when the golden age of piracy started up, which is from the mid 1600s all the way to late 1700s. We'll say mid 1700s, mid to mid, yeah. However, pirates, generology of pirates is anyone attacking anyone on high seas, a group of individuals, and therefore taking what it is that might be, you know, as far as merchants, going from one country to another to make a delivery, shipping, a business is so-called, you know, just doing the regular business. They would interrupt that business and try to profit from it. And that's what pirates do. There's nothing good, nothing heroic about what pirates do. Maybe heroic for themselves to gain profit, personal profit, but it's not done for anybody else. It's not done for their own country. It's not.
Now, you say it's not done for their own country. Wasn't there a period in time when the merchants or mercantile capitalists, they were coming to the New World and they were carrying tobacco and cotton back over to England? But wasn't there also a time when the pirates or were going to, they were attacking another country's ships to get gold that was also coming from the New World? So am I mixing up time periods a little here? Because
it's not that you're mixing up time periods. You might be missing the difference between, let's say, a privateer, or what you would say out here, which most people call privateer, to pirates and piracy. Privateering was all for the case of wartime and protecting the coasts and perhaps going against the enemy, who, you know, preying upon the enemy and their weaknesses to help our country out, to diminish the war, to say give up, no more war, you know. That's what the privateers were used for. They got letters of marque. They went against the military. They hardshipped the military. They didn't prey against innocent individuals like pirates did and what they do today. You know, I mean,
So you're saying that the notion that there's a treasure island and some lagoon where the pirates all go in there and have rum and fun is a false stereotype, painting a good picture. It's a Hollywood image versus the reality.
There was a brotherhood of piracy where all the bad guys hang out together, just like there was a military or a navy. You know, they all have their base where they got to stay and work from, away from their country. Port Royal was a perfect example of a shipping porting area that was, if whoever owned that property, whether it be wartime or after wartime or before wartime, would have the advantage for the shipping and have a port to refuel or to do whatever it is that they had to do to replenish, you know, and trade goods as well and go back and forth. I mean, however, during wartime, privateers did what they had to protect their country, you know, as opposed to pirates didn't care. They didn't care what country. I mean, and they were from all likes. It wasn't just English pirates. There was, when you went on a pirate ship, you've seen French individuals, Dutch, Spanish, American colonists, British, Norwegian, whoever, they all work together going for the same thing, self-profit.
A camaraderie of looting and
Pretty much.
profiting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hollywood taking Johnny Depp and turning him into this version of a rock and roll star pirate, painting him as a good guy, is virtually just wrong. But it makes for good commercialism to make profit nowadays when people are selling their pirate swords, their pirate hats, their pirate clothes, their pirate guns. You know, they put the word pirate in front of it because they want to sell that to what the kids are being targeted to wanting to play or act as, you know, on Halloween. But when you look at all these movies and stories and books about, let's say, Treasure Island, Robert Louis Stevenson' Treasure Island, the pirates were the bad guys. The children, they were the heroes in the story. But they were on the good side, the ones that were against the pirates. Same thing, Peter Pan. You talk about Peter Pan, you talk about Hook being the bad guy, the evil guy, the one that wants to manipulate Tinker Bell into doing things against Peter Pan. You know, it's all evil. Those were the bad ones. And then Disney decides to, with Hollywood, mix things up a little bit and make a hero out of a pirate. Just didn't fly with me. It's like taking, let's say, Jesse James and making a hero out of him and turning him into a good guy because he's helping out a few Confederates. Wrongly, that the investors and people of money that had for the railroad and individuals that went upon trying to make a profit by crossing the railroad through their certain property, but they were offered money to move and to be reimbursed for the, you know, the exchange of the property and whatnot, but they were stubborn, didn't want to take that. They were still personally, mentally, emotionally, whatnot, at war with the actual United States, being Confederates that lost the war.
Right, well, I mean...
So they were sympathizers of him robbing, you know, that sort of stuff. I mean...
Well, even today we would have sympathizers against the government's
Absolutely.
right for eminent domain, and each situation does deserve
But there's a right and
looking
wrong
at it.
for everything. There's a proper way to do it. I
Right.
mean, get the laws changed. Do it properly. Don't go after innocent people to be harmed, who happens to be walking by and gets a stray bullet.
You know, this sounds, makes a lot of sense to me, and but it is, it's quite different from embracing and romanticizing the pirate life. You had done this Raider the Pirate instead of Raider the Pirate Hunter for quite a while, and you've moved away from that. And you did it at many Renaissance fairs.
Again, I have to correct you.
Go ahead.
Renaissance fairs, getting started out doing that. Before that, I used to be a stuntman and I did some other things, and you portrayed a character. I never portrayed a pirate. I was usually the British coming in to go after the pirates. So I was always a privateer. no matter what. And when I started to wanting to apply that, let's say Francis Drake or Raleigh, any of the sea dogs of Elizabeth,
Right.
Queen Elizabeth, that preyed upon the enemy at the time, the enemy of the state, you know. I mean, these galleons, they were not unarmed. They had guns on her, you know, to protect them. And during wartime, there was a reason for that, you know. Piracy was a big issue. If they got caught and captured perhaps by Francis Drake, he was gentlemanly about it and gave them back the ship as long as they got whatever it was that they needed during wartime. But pirates, they probably would have taken the ship for themselves, or they would have destroyed the evidence and sunk her. The point that I'm getting at is I was known as Raider the Pirate because that's what the nobles would call me as a joke.
The nobles at the
at
court
Renaissance
at the
Fair,
Renaissance
court,
Fair,
right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes that pirate again. You know, that's
Right.
what they all called Francis Drake.
Right.
They don't knight pirates. They knighted Francis Drake for doing what it is he did for his country. He fattened the Queen's purse, no doubt, but he did it during wartime. You know, he didn't prey on anyone innocent. When he sacked towns, he sacked armed towns that had castles and whatnot. It's the unfortunate situation. There was slavery involved with that back then, and that was the whole ordeal at the time. Slavery was considered booty. It was basically, you know, commonly known as property. But there were all sorts of slaves. It wasn't just one generation or type of ethnic background of slaves. You had Americans working off indentured slavery too. And when American privateers were captured, they were most likely put into galley slave ships with the Spanish. But, you know, there's a lot of education here, and the unfortunate problem we're dealing with this modern day age is ignorance against Hollywood and what Hollywood shows, and people believe it's true.
Now, I'd like to just look at the original origin of this medieval fair up here. One of the purposes was to instill the virtues of courage and honor into the kids who are participating or come and experience it. And that sounds like what you're saying is a pirate has virtues, or we couldn't call them virtues, no, but is more plunder and looting, and a privateer is a little more doing things for above the table for the benefit of the society. Now, you're moving on. Well, you do art and photography and other things besides your
in my personal life, yeah.
In your personal life,
got to make a bill. You know?
You're trying to consolidate this notion of the raider, the private hunter, by developing a nonprofit, and you are actually the executive director of Privateers for Kids. Can you tell me about that?
Privateers for Kids, Privateers for Kids, you know, as I pronounce it.
Well, that's
lingo.
English or British. I lived over there,
it's
so
all pronunciation,
privateer,
is it?
right, yeah. Schedule or schedule.
Right, aluminium.
Aluminum.
Yeah, right. Okay, herbs, yeah, that sort of thing. You know, it's an awareness. A lot of kids, you know, they've got this idea they want to grow up and become a pirate. And piracy today is not very lucrative for the majority. In fact, so much the fact that it's away from more so the Americas. It's in more foreign lands that are more considered rural type of areas, undeveloped or
Somalia.
Whatever the case. It's just not as modernized, not hep to having their own military to be able to protect themselves.
Right.
And of course, Somalia feels that they're doing things to protect their area, but that's their explanation. But they're not sharing it with the people, obviously, whatever they capture for ransom or whatnot. There's a lot of innocent people out there getting the worst of it. Not too long ago, some Christian folk were out on a sailing venture to be missionaries, and they were captured, and nobody wanted to offer any type of ransom for them, so they killed them, took the boat, and sold the boat or destroyed it or did whatever they wanted to do with it. I mean, that's just criminal.
And that's going on today. So today,
absolutely, modern day, yeah.
We see pirates today, and they are not exhibiting virtues of courage and
honor.
Right,
understandable as to what piracy is, as opposed to military and whatnot. And people want to claim, you know, during war there's a lot of, you know, horrific things going on, war and whatnot. I'm not here to talk about the politics with all that sort of stuff. I'm basically here to show that in a reasonably way, I want to take away the fantasy ideal of it. I'm fine with mermaids, Santa Claus, individuals that never really existed, creatures that didn't exist, and playing and whatnot. But the reality is piracy. Pirates bring death to people if they don't get what they want, majoritively. You don't get that from Santa Claus or mermaids or fairies.
No, you don't. And the real world, we have men all over the world are violent towards women. They mistreat women, and basically boys growing up. And there's a saying which I like. It says, "Boys don't have to be creeps." And what I'm hearing from you is that a pirate, being a pirate, everything that's associated with that actually says, creeps are having fun, and you can grow up, and it's a real problem when we have rape culture and things going on, which, I'm very interested. I have grandkids, and I want them to grow up and see role models that are more compassionate and caring. And
right.
Can you talk, of course, you have a special interest in kids who are underprivileged, unable to participate as fully.
Sure.
Can you tell me about how you're going to be connecting with them?
Yeah, they might be missing a lot of education in school because they might be in a hospital or something like that, or they can't go to a private or public school because they're not able to be there. They need to be at home to be able to take their medications, get their injections and whatnot. They're just not old enough to be able to take care of themselves or go to the nurse and whatnot. And I want to be able to go to them to not only teach, but have fun and do it in a fun, moral way and educate them the difference. Starting out, I was known as Raider the Pirate because that was my nickname. It wasn't the name that I chose for myself. And I embraced it with the realities as that's what people would assume you were, because you were dressed up as a sailor. I mean, like today, I'm dressed in some swabby clothes as an individual.
You sure look like a pirate.
Yeah, right, and again, that's something from Hollywood. Robert Newton started that up, and it's always stuck, and they say it's talk like a pirate, but pirates talked of any language, they English, Spanish, French. I mean, you didn't see them going R in French.
No,
it's just sort of silly, and I'm not trying to discredit anybody making a fast buck on something. They can try and do that all they want, but at least teach the kids properly. And what I want to do as I'm not going to say I'm a humanitarian or something like that, but I want to educate people in a proper manner and show them the difference in the causes and whatnot. I mean, piracy started all the way back, far back as since the longest tradition of any kind of job. It's almost as old as the profession prostitution, okay? I mean, then that's where they spent a lot of their money on, basically, is what pirates did. But piracy in general started up, yes, with what they called the sea people, and then the Phoenicians and all those individuals in the Aegean Ocean, the Mediterranean area. Mm-hmm. In fact, Julius Caesar, a guy, I can't remember his full name, but he had so many names.
Emperor of Rome.
Emperor of Rome, whatever you wanted to call him, the first dictator of Rome. He was kidnapped by pirates, and they were the Phoenicians. And of course, he vowed that he was going to come back once there was a ransom. They offered a ransom, but Caesar said, "That's not enough. I'm worth more than that." Hike it up a little, my people will pay it. And then he came back and he went after those pirates, so-called pirates, and took revenge and brought back even more than what his ransom was worth. But again, it started way back when. Those were pirates, those were the enemy. The military has always gone after pirates, and they've not always been successful because it costs too much money. So they went and hired out private individuals to go after pirates, and they were called privateers. So they became pirate hunters. And nowadays, because people in the so-called modern-day pirate community, the individuals who are playing pirate and trying to teach kids that pirates can be heroes, which is completely wrong, the unfortunate situation is that me trying to correct that, they're very much against me because they feel they're going to lose money and the commercial end of it, you know, while they're selling their pirate swords and their pirate hats and everything's got the name pirate, when the pirate hat that they're calling it is actually a tricorn. I mean, if somebody dressed up as George Washington and went into a kindergarten or nursery school or first or second, third grade, the kids most likely are going to think he's a pirate because of what he's wearing. You might think he's a pirate officer. They may not know he's George Washington or Thomas Jefferson or whomever.
Right. Now, Johnny Depp, even our pictures we have paintings of George Washington, they all have, you know, of course, wonderful long hair and you know, pretty good-looking guys. Is that how pirates were? Were they, you know, did they use deodorant? Did they? What's the real story with the life of a pirate?
I mean, you know, anyone, a sailor at sea, I mean, the biggest problems that they had back in the day was lice on the hair. You know, personal fleas, that sort of thing. I mean, that was a big deal. And so they used wigs made out of all kinds of materials, horse's hair, human hair, and they powdered them at some point, which is the whole reason why tricorns went from being a flat, large brim hat, went into being a tricorns to keep the powder off of the bottom of the hats. And that's why they kind of folded up. One at the front and in the back.
Yeah, it's not an image one thinks of as pirates powdering their hair or keeping the powder
well,
off their
officers
hats.
would do what they did when they were in the presence of the public, but when they're out there sailing and whatnot, I mean, most of them, they shave their heads. Underneath, they had very, very short hair underneath these wigs because it was warm. It was, you know, it was, I wouldn't say it was synthetic hair, but I mean, you know, it was just something else under that and between the hat and whatnot. I mean, tradition changes over the years. I mean, there was at one point where you would say most of the Americans, Senate and the government, it was tradition for them to have beards or long burns during the 1800s. You won't see any politicians today with beards. They're very clean cut and you know, maybe a mustache or something like that, but not a goatee or anything like that. It's just,
So how are you,
against, you know?
Raider, how are you going to be, what's your plans coming up in terms of
working for
connecting with this privateers
for
kids?
Well,
and
educating.
I heard you might be getting a ship in the future. Is this something you can talk about right now?
We can talk about it. I mean, that's one of our main goals. You know, is the process of going through the 501c3, which is the ability to run as a legal charity, which is important. So people can look us up and find that we are in the process.
Right. Charity would be a nonprofit.
Right, exactly.
Generally
organization,
speaking. Yeah.
You know, corporate organization, if they want to call it, yeah. Majoritively, our main goal is we'd like to get a nice long boat that's modernized on the inside, but looks very vintage on the outside, to the period that we're working with, and take a very sick child, their best friend, and some family members, along with the crew, and live, you know, Treasure Island or something like that, how it was back in the day and whatnot, you know, and sort of do a little bit of acting here and there, not necessarily acting, called reenacting, being able to live the way that we did back then properly.
Right.
Nothing out of order. But of course, when you're dealing with families and sick children, you've got to be able to have the modern amenities on the inside to be able to take care and feed and whatnot, if you're talking about doing something for about 24 hours.
Right now, what you just laid out, a real ship on the high seas, is very real compared to going to a medieval fair. So what experience do you have? Are you going to be the captain?
I don't know if I'll be the captain or not. I mean, I plan on getting a boat of my own and getting my captaincy, but I can skipper a ship, you know.
And you did have an experience going around.
Yeah, I did. I had some experience. I wasn't the skipper or captain or anything sort of that particular type vessel, but I did go around the Horn. I had some experience with that. I was a watchstander, you know, like a bosun.
And the Horn would be
going around South America,
down the bottom
all that. Yeah. But we did not go
America.
through the straits. We went all the way completely around.
Okay.
We didn't want to deal with. I mean, it was bad enough. I'll never do that again. Never.
But
I'm glad I did it. It was an experience I had to have. You know.
A privateer who gets seasick. Is that what you're saying?
Well, everybody. I mean, once one individual gets sick on something with the waves, it's just like this. I mean, we broke the bowsprit and had to get a new one replaced in Baie. The waters are really treacherous out there. People don't realize it. And it depends on the time of the season too. But there's cross currents. It's not a normal current when you're going around that at all. It's a high season. It's a very very tough time too. I mean, I can't imagine Captain Bligh when he went through his own situation, which is why the crew wanted to cause the mutiny. They didn't want to counter it. They didn't want to go backwards.
Or Captain Cook, didn't he have problems also?
He had problems too, but his problem was with Hawaii. They pretty much made an example out of him.
True.
You know. Bligh himself, his own crew, basically mutinied, and they became, you know, they committed piracy in order to take the ship away from him and sail to where they wanted to in Pitcairn Island, you know.
Yes.
It's another bit of history there too.
It is. Another movie was made out of that too. With
Sure, many
Brando,
movies and whatnot. Again,
and that's how we get a lot of our images, our
Absolutely,
ideas.
sure.
And we should know by now that we really can't trust those images. We can enjoy them, but
yeah, it's unfortunate. Hollywood likes to embellish, to create watchers. You know, fantasies for individuals to make the almighty dollar. You know, people think it's cool. I want to go and see it. You know, it's something that it's just wrong, but that's ignorance too. If the adults, the parents, don't have the knowledge to study or to understand, they're not going to be able to teach the kids in the right way either. They figure the kids are just going to, you know, dust it off the shoulders eventually and just become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, you know, and it's just something part of growing up.
Well, this has been really great, and I think it's right that kids getting the wrong messages end up actually behaving in ways that are not that productive.
Right, I'm not against anyone making any money.
We're going to have to wrap this up,
Sure.
Raider. It's been really great. So we've been spending the session here on Out Here in the Redwoods with Raider Corbone, who has moved from pirate, he never really was one, to privateer. And everybody come out tomorrow and Sunday to the Renaissance, the Medieval Fair out in Arcata. Well, thank you everybody for watching this session of Out Here in the Redwoods. We've been with Raider Corbone, the private who turned privateer. So come back and see us next week. On behalf of Chad Durant and Belinda White, I want to say aloha and goodbye.